Yeah.
I'd like to call to order tonight's meeting of the Davenport Plan and Zone Commission for May 5th, Tuesday, May 5th. I would like to ask anybody in attendance to please make sure your cell phone is turned off, as it may interfere with our audio. We'll start off with our public hearing. Roll call, please.
Schneider.
Here.
Lammers.
Here.
Med.
Here.
Johnson.
Present.
Tallman.
Here.
Hepner. Bransgard. Reinarts.
Here.
Manus.
Here.
Garrington.
Here.
We have 9 present. That is a quorum.
Thank you, Matt. We'll move on to our first item, public hearing for case REZ 20-04, request by Alex Kelly to rezone 412 East Locust Street from C1 Neighborhood Commercial District to C2 Corridor Commercial District. It's located in Ward 5. Matt?
Thank you, Matt Flynn with the City of Davenport Planning Office. Just have a brief overview of the case. The petitioner is here. He will be given an opportunity to provide his own overview and then time for questions. Currently, there is no one else in the council chambers. So again, this is the request from the applicant. I won't go ahead and read this, but basically the crux of the request revolves around the availability to not only expand an existing liquor license, but actually be able to transfer it in this location. C1 under the new code does not allow retail alcohol sales. That's allowed only in the C2 zoning district and above. Here's the property. It's located at the northeast corner of Locust Street and Iowa Street. It's kind of across the street from the Save-A-Lot and the old gas station. I hate to bore people with old stories, but next to my great aunt's house, it was Cotton's Standard gas station, but it remains currently as a cell phone store. This is the existing zoning. We'll talk not necessarily today, but as we do our analysis about the Locust Street corridor and how there have been numerous efforts to not only maintain its commercial viability, but looking for opportunities to expand that. But if we looked all along the Locust Street corridor, you'll see a lot of the smaller properties being zoned C1, with the C2 classification generally reserved for larger facilities. Here you can see I believe it's called Save You More grocery store. Also, I can tell you Walgreens, a little bit down the street, is also zone C2, as well as most of that commercial area around the Brady and Main Street and Locust Street corner. This is the future land use map, and if it looks like it's all one classification, you're correct. This is all under that residential general classification, which you should be able to recite by memory what residential general means. And no, we're not going to make this into a quiz, but again, residential general does not mean exclusive residential. It calls for and supports commercial along its fringes, particularly along busier streets. The one interesting thing here is that we also have a plan overlay of urban corridor. And again, without reading that description, it is in your staff report, basically recognizes the urban corridor and the not only importance to surrounding neighborhoods, but the need for good design standards to support compatible development and redevelopment. The other factor here, and maybe some of the new commissioners might not be familiar with this work, but this is an older commercial corridor plan that looked at not only revitalization strategies along Locust Street, but we also looked at the Rockingham and Brady and Harrison Street corridors. And, with just in particular, and we'll talk more when we make our recommendation, but, Locust Street is a long corridor with a lot of variety of uses. It runs, don't quote me on this, but probably pushing 10 miles that cuts right through the city, and it does identify particular nodes of areas that either provide unique character and or unique reinvestment opportunities. And the Iowa and Locust Street intersection is certainly one of those. As far as public notification, and in this weird time, first of all, we did send not only our generic notice to property owners within 200 feet, but we made a special effort to request people not only of just this public hearing and the neighborhood meeting, but encourage people to provide input using other sources, either by mail, by phone call, or by email. We did place a sign on the property. We did hold a neighborhood meeting last Thursday. Other than the applicant, there was no one in attendance. We did get one, at least up to this point, one neighbor expressing opposition to the proposal. So again, this is public hearing. We're seeking input. We don't provide any recommendations at this point, but a few things that I would ask the commission to be thinking about as we move towards a recommendation is, first of all, how does this request promote neighborhood compatibility, particularly in light of the older commercial corridor plan? And I should mention that that section was included in your packet, so if you haven't had a chance to take a close look at it, please do. I think you always have to look at need, and is there a need for additional alcohol sales, retail sales outlets in the vicinity? Without doing a scientific survey between Harrison and Bridge, I'm noting about six outlets where they probably have beer and wine permits, and then 3 outlets that would serve hard liquor or sell hard liquor, and that would be the Save You More across the street, Walgreens, and the facility at the southeast corner of Bridge and Locust Street. One of the things is, we always want to look at, what's the potential impact on public safety. We have requested some data from the police department. We haven't done a complete analysis, but I can tell you at least this point, it's really not very conclusive in terms of, is this particular location better or worse than others along the corridor? But we will provide that as well. And then I think it's worth pointing out, by taking retail alcohol sales out of the new C1 district wasn't an oversight. This was a legitimate, I would say, at least at the time, policy decision that council supported. And I think the fundamental question is, do we need to be taking another look at that policy and adjusting it if necessary? So next actions would be the Planning and Zoning Commission would be asked to make a recommendation on May 9th, and then another public hearing in front of the Committee of the Whole on June 3rd.
That would be May 19th.
Did I say June 19th?
You said May 9th.
May 19th. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, do you at this time have any questions prior to the petitioner speaking?
This is Susan.
Go ahead,
I was,
Susan.
when I read everything, the first thought I had was there's been a lot of thought put into the zoning, and it was purposeful, and it was to maintain the integrity of the neighborhood. So how can all that be taught when considering moving to a C2, which would be a higher intensity use of the alcohol and things? How should we be thinking?
Well, I don't know if I totally caught all that, but again, with the rezoning request, that's what you're being asked to consider. And at this point, we don't provide recommendations. We have typically, over the years, kind of put some thoughts in the back of your head as you deliberate. But I think some of those things that you saw on the previous slide would be things that would be taken into consideration with our ultimate staff recommendation.
Okay.
Matt, this is Barbara Manus.
Go
I
ahead.
have a question also. In the petitioner's application, he states that if the property were to be sold to another, the present alcohol sales could not continue. Is that accurate?
Yes, and that is an interpretation that was made by our city attorney. One of the, I'll say, challenges in working in the realm of alcohol, I'll call it just alcohol regulation, is that it's regulated in numerous portions of the city code. Obviously, zoning. That's why you're being your input's being requested. But it's also under business licensing in Title V. So we've been coordinating with Sherry Eastman, I'll say the alcohol control officer, on making sure as this request moves forward, we're following the right protocols. So back to the city attorney's opinion. His opinion is that an existing license, and in this case it's for, I believe it's beer only, can be maintained by this owner, but any either upgrade to hard liquor for this owner or a transfer of any license to a new owner would be, in essence, a new license and would need that C2 zoning in order to even be considered.
Thank you. That helps my understanding.
Any additional questions at this time?
Mr. Chairman, this is Dave. I have one question for Matt.
Go ahead, Commissioner Tallman.
Matt, under the code, alcohol sales are not allowed anywhere as a special use. So is that correct? They couldn't go to the Board of Appeals and get one for the current zoning. Is that correct?
That's right. I mean, that has been the case in the past, but to be honest, alcohol regulation, not only here, but other places I've worked, has always been kind of a moving target. And I'll say the degree of regulation tends to change with I'll say the political seasons. But back to your question, going back several years, alcohol sales did require at the time a special use permit from the Zoning Board of Adjustment. But if I can recall kind of the thinking at council at that time, they felt that and this is not a put down to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, but to leaving up really a lot of responsibility on alcohol regulation to a 5-member citizen body was not something that a previous council preferred. They wanted more, I'll say, hands-on ability to regulate, and and I think that's essentially where we've kind of come to up to this point. That ultimately, if it takes a zoning change, this is something that the council wanted to be making the decision on.
so where we are today is for them to transfer the liquor license to a new owner, their only course of action is to get the property rezoned. Is that correct?
And again, that's just from the zoning perspective. You know, I'll say the details in Title V, even with respect to some of the spacing requirements and whatnot, you know, try to leave Sherry Eastman and her lane under that category, and we'll focus on zoning. But back to your question, yes, C2 would be required if there was any change in ownership where the new owner would be afforded an opportunity to sell either beer, wine, or hard liquor.
All right, thank you, Matt. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tallman. Any additional questions before the petitioner speaks?
I have a quick question. I was just wondering, Matt, I'm sure you keep track of every gas station in the Quad Cities, but are you aware of any others that might be in C1 zoning, or are the majority of gas stations in C2?
Well, I admit I maybe know this area because it's my neighborhood. Not that I know every liquor establishment in town. That rumor is false. But I know there are a number of C1 zone gas stations that sell beer and or wine. I believe both the Shell and the quick shop at Harrison and Brady both sell at least beer.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, we will move on to the petitioner. Would you like to step forward to the lectern and tell us about your project? Please identify yourself.
My name is Alex Kelly, representing Bethany Enterprises, who's the petitioner. So the owner and operator initially built this gas station and has maintained a Class C beer carryout license. Since then, he's never sold alcohol there, hard alcohol. And he was exploring a sale opportunity. And once we began discussions with the buyer, he presented to us, after he had talked with the liquor officer, that Class C carryout beer sales were grandfathered in to the current C1 zoning. And with any transfer, a C2 zoning would have to be in place for them to continue the Class C beer carryout license. So the owner proceeded on wanting me to fill out the application and present on the rezoning, just so he has the opportunity to sell the gas station in the future, and the next owner can have a Class C beer carryout license.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the petitioner at this time? Second opportunity. Hearing none. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Appreciate you stopping. Seeing nobody else in the audience, do commissioners have any other questions of staff or the petitioner?
No.
Hearing none, we will move on and close the public hearing for REZ 20-04 and move on to our regular meeting agenda. Start with roll call, please.
Schneider,
Here.
Lammers,
Present.
Med,
Here.
Johnson, Tallman,
Here.
Ingram,
Present.
Hepner, Bransgard,
Present.
Betsy, when did you approximately join the meeting?
A couple minutes in.
Okay. Reinarts,
Here.
Manus,
Here.
Garrington,
Here.
10 present and a quorum.
Thank you, Matt. We will look at report of city council activity.
Nothing more to report.
Thank you. Secretary's report.
Move report.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the report as printed signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it will remain as printed. Report of Comp Plan Committee, Matt?
Nothing to report. We're just trying to keep up with staff work and a number of other things. But as you know, we have been discussing embarking on a new comprehensive plan. And to be honest, I don't know what kind of form it will take. It could be, let's just say very different. I think almost at this point, we need to kind of assess how things shake out here before I'll say jump into, for example, I'll say a traditional comprehensive plan. But that being said, there's certainly going to be work related to the COVID recovery, maybe not directly related to the comp plan, but we are preparing to apply for a couple different historic preservation grants, try and keep things moving on that end.
Thank you, Matt. We do not have any zoning activity. We'll move on to subdivision. We have one item, case F20-03, the request of XL Consultants, Inc. for a final plat for a two-lot subdivision on 11.76 acres MOL of property located at the east side of Wisconsin Avenue, approximately 260 feet north of Shawnee Drive. It's located in the First Ward. Staff recommends that the Plan and Zone Commission accept the three listed findings and forward case F20-03 to the City Council with a recommendation for approval, subject again to the following three conditions. And I would so move.
Second.
Second.
Case number F20-03 has been moved and seconded for discussion. Commissioners, any comments? Questions? Hearing none. Matt, you have anything you want to input?
Not a lot to report. Brandon did the staff work here, but if you know this area, it's kind of, that classic urban-rural fringe area. Maybe the lots over really decades have not been, it's not been kind of setting itself up for a more, I'll say, traditional urban or even suburban land use pattern. There's some interesting factors here. You have a small creek and a lot of topography. So I think, I think the future, particularly for this southeast quadrant of Wisconsin and Locust Street, is going to be kind of this more, I don't want to call it funky, but I guess I just did, kind of land use pattern. Here we're going to be dividing this property into two lots using a shared driveway, but each lot having direct frontage on Locust Street, or I'm sorry, Wisconsin. So you see here with staff recommendation, we do believe it conforms with the comp plan and meets all subdivision requirements. Some three pretty basic conditions found below. So staff recommends approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, any questions at this time? Second option, any final question? Hearing none, we will move on to a vote. Roll call, please, Matt.
Lammers,
Yes.
Med,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Ingram,
I don't vote.
that's right. Bransgard,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Manus,
Yes.
Garrington,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I need to back up. Did we get a motion and second?
Yes, we did. But I
Could you
can't,
direct-
I made the motion.
Okay.
Since I read it. I can't remember who
I
seconded.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, Matt, I think you skipped me.
Tallman,
You're making me feel very unwanted.
I got too much going on here.
He needs,
Get 30
Matt,
seconds, we're gonna be done. I'm gonna sigh of relief.
Matt.
Tallman?
Tallman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tallman, Matt's in desperate need of your secretarial skills. I'm going to make a motion that you be in attendance at the next meeting.
Matt, you gonna second that? Gladly.
That concludes the subdivision activity. Move on to future business. Matt, do you have anything to report?
No, I mean, we will have a meeting on the 19th. I know we are moving towards, I'll say, more normal operations, but I would assume that even for the next meeting, it will take a form much like this one, although, eventually we're going to have public hearings and we're going to have more audience participation, and hopefully things will get back to reasonable, normal, so we can provide really as much opportunity for the public to participate on the matters that are important to them.
I would second that motion. Future,
I would
sorry.
just ask that it's thoughtful in the consideration to bring everybody back in, because as the council is set up today, we wouldn't have the 6-foot distance and things like that. And I'm just speaking selfishly here as a very high-risk person. So I don't want to put myself in danger, nor anybody else's. So I'm just hoping people are taking their time and making these decisions carefully.
Yeah, I'd have to say that I don't think we're in any kind of position to, I'll say, mandate in-person requirements. I suspect that the ability to participate remotely will probably remain in effect indefinitely. And I know we have Department Head Corey Smith here. Would you concur with that? He is nodding his head.
That would be great. Thank you.
Any additional communications or business? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All those in favor of adjournment signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned, and I would like to thank all of you for your remote participation. Hope you all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Stay home.